Hi children, let's continue with the summary of the Invisible Man. Now in this chapter 16, we see that Marvel bursts into the Jolly Cricketers Club running from the Invisible Man who's running after him. Now people at the pub assure him of his safety. They tell him that he should not worry and they will protect him. And the Invisible Man inevitably reaches there and he attacks Marvel. He starts beating him. Then there is a lot of confusion and chaos. People start beating each other, fighting. And then a man shoots a gun. A man shoots a gun, a shot is fired and somebody is definitely injured because there is blood. Now that somebody injured is, of course, the Invisible Man. Marvel is rescued in time and the Invisible Man has to rush off. Now Kemp also hears the shot. It is close to his house, the Jolly Cricketers pub, and he looks out to find a crowd at the pub. The Invisible Man, in the meantime, breaks into Kemp's house. Now, the Invisible Man first recognizes Kemp as his associate professor in the university and heaves a sigh of relief. He introduces himself as Griffin. So here in this chapter we come to know that the Invisible Man is a science student whose name was Griffin. Till then we don't know his story. Now in the next chapter he asks that he wants to sleep. He will tell all his story, he will narrate his story, but he first needs to sleep. And in the next chapter Griffin sleeps. Meanwhile Kemp reads all the newspapers, first the newspaper at home, and then he gets all newspapers and reads, and he decides that Griffin is not a good person to deal with, and he writes a note to Colonel RDA, the policeman, so that he is informed about the Invisible Man's presence here. Now in the next chapter, Griffin tells about his experiments, how he was researching and how he wanted to hide his research from others. So he wanted to do it in secret, and then there is a lack of funds for which he steals from his own father, and then his father who in the shame commits robbery because that money was actually not his. So the father commits suicide and Griffin is by that time so hardened that he does not even attend the funeral and he is not even disturbed about it. So Griffin continues his story in the next chapter, then talks about his father's funeral, says that he did not go there because of the police and he did not even repent it. Then he tells him about renting a room somewhere and his experiments on the cat and then upon himself, which made him invisible. But by that time he did not have the antidote, so he could not turn the process reverse. He could not reverse the process and he was left to be invisible. Now he was working on the antidote, that is why he had come to the coaches and inns. But before that, Griffin tells about his disadvantages of invisibility. He says that they are more than the advantages. The advantages being that he can run off wherever he wants, nobody will see him, he can steal and he can run off, but he cannot use money, he cannot eat without opening his mouth, which will make everyone aware of his situation, and he cannot stay without clothes. Though he can stay invisible without clothes, he has to wear them to become a person who is visible, who has an identity, yet he feels naked. The body is only invisible, it has not disappeared. He feels naked, he feels cold, and his footprints are still there, and those footprints once caused him a lot of inconvenience also. He tells Kemp all this. Kemp starts believing a little bit in him. Then he tells him that he entered a departmental store, slept there, and before that he had gathered food and clothes, but he could not wake up before the crewmen came and he had to escape eventually after taking off his clothes and becoming invisible. Kemp also tells him that it is not good to be doing this, playing with the liberty of others, but he does not understand. By this time he has become a hardened criminal. Now he tells that then he went to a costume shop and there he gagged and bound the shopkeeper and found a suitable costume for him and a nose, and from there he went off.